What's up, guys? My name's Landon. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I scaled my home service business from zero to doing over $2 million in our first 3.5 years without relying on paid ads. I'm going to give you everything right here. The playbook, the sales scripts, the marketing strategies, everything we did to get there. So whatever you do, don't leave. Watch the entire video. I'm going to lay it all out. Let's dive right in. But real quick, here's the backstory on me. Once again, my name's Landon. Some of you know me, some of you don't. But I started in the home service industry back in 2016, fresh out of high school. I joined a pest control company and I did it during the summertime. So on and off for the next 4 or 5 years, I was doing pest control. And then in 2021, I decided to start my own company, and it was a pest control company. And let me tell you, starting a company was extremely rough. I was in a super competitive and saturated market, and I really struggled to get more customers, build a brand identity, and get any sort of traction to grow my company in our area. And I worried all the time about making payroll, making sure I had enough customers paying us so we could pay our guys. And there was lots of times when I just wondered, did I start the wrong company? Did I start it in the wrong city? Am I gonna make it? But the one thing I knew was that God had led me to start this business. So I always relied on that, and I knew that if I leaned into him, that he would help me be successful, not because of me, but because of him. So fast forward 3 years, we were able to scale to move into a super awesome office space. We also won the award in back-to-back years for the #1 service company in our city, and that landed us a spot in the local Hall of Fame. And then on top of all that, we were able to be acquired by one of the biggest companies in our industry. So let me show you exactly how I did it. I have everything broken down into a super simple 6-step process. It's mindset, finances, service, sales, operations, and team. The very first thing is finances. It's super important to know the numbers in your company. And honestly, when I started, I had no idea what I was doing. I had never seen a P&L before. I didn't know the cost of our service or the gross margins or profit or any of those things. I had no idea. And honestly, just at the end of each month, I would hope that I'd look at those numbers and that they were good. So eventually I spent months and months and months looking at reports and numbers and percentages and figuring everything out and breaking it all down into one simple spreadsheet. Once I created the spreadsheet, it only took me a couple minutes every day, but I would check it every single day. And within those couple minutes, I knew everything I needed to know about the company. I knew gross margins, cost per service, customer acquisition costs. I knew months down the road where we'd be at, the trajectory of the company. I knew everything. And so I have the spreadsheet, and I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like and how to use it.
This spreadsheet right here has everything that we needed to know for our company in order to grow, scale, pay everything on time, and know what's next. And so it's going to look like a lot of numbers, but this alone improved our gross margins by 20 or 30% and our bottom line by 15 to 25% too. So down below, you'll see there's about 5 or 6 different pages within this sheet. I'm going to walk you through each one. Number 1 is just the input page. So company name is here, and then has general inputs about the average contract value for each customer, how much they pay the first month, how much they pay every month after that, the attrition each month for your company, other things like that that just drive the rest of the finances of the business that you need to know. Page 2 is the P&L. So it looks like a lot at once, but this helps a ton with the finances of the company. So just looking, each column is a month. And if you just take March, for example, it shows how much revenue is going to come in that month, how much of that is going to go to cost of goods sold, what percent that's going to be gross profit. The rest of this is simply operating expenses, insurance, rent, marketing, office supplies, software, phone, whatever else. And then any loans you pay off. And then at the bottom, it shows you how much net income you should take home that month. So this projects out into the future 3 years to know where you should be at if you follow these projections. And the coolest part about this spreadsheet is you don't need to touch a single thing. You just plug in numbers here. So this is the revenue or customers tab. So it shows the new customers for each month, how many customers you lose that month, and how many total customers you're left with. It shows you how much revenue that's going to be, processing fees, customers that don't pay, etc., and then the top line revenue. So all you do is you plug in numbers here. So right now it says we get 25 new customers in April. You go back to the P&L and it tells you, okay, that should give us about $4,700 of revenue, and then everything follows suit here. Let's say you're going to crush in April, and you're saying, hey, we're actually going to do 100 customers. We've got some things we're going to do to build a company. You look back and April now says $11,000. And what's super cool is not only does it show you how much you're going to bring in, but it shows you how much it's going to cost you in labor, supplies, equipment, and fuel. So you don't need to touch any of that. It shows you you're going to have 78% gross margins which is super attainable if you follow these numbers and other metrics and systems we have within the company. And then it follows operating expenses and $6,000 of profit. So that's what we used every month, every day to know where we're at, where we're going to be, and what we need to project in terms of payroll, marketing, supplies, equipment, fuel, everything in between. On top of that, there's the cash flow tab. So this just shows you where all your money is at and where it's going to be in the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months. So what's really hard as a business owner is knowing where the money's at and if you can sleep at night. This shows each month, the top line shows the profit that's going to come in each month. And then this line shows if the owner puts in money. So it just shows, hey, the owner put in $10,000 to start this company. And then each month it shows what the bank account should be at after the end of the month. So a lot of owners just go to sleep not really knowing if their business is okay. They feel overwhelmed. They're not sure. But this shows you where it's going to be at if you follow these projections. And then lastly is the headcount tab. So a lot of owners struggle knowing, when do I hire the next person? How much do I pay them? When should I onboard them? When should I start putting up the job ad? All those things. And this shows you exactly when to do that. So it shows you the total active accounts, 79, 102, 125. And then you can put in when you're going to hire someone. If you're going to need a sales rep, technicians, office managers, or assistants. And in this sense, we put 1 in February. So when you hire one person there, it also drives the cost of labor in this tab here, so you know exactly how much it's going to cost you. So if you think you're going to hire a second one in August, you put a 2 there, and then you know exactly how much it's going to cost you to have a second employee going forward, payroll, fuel, everything else. So this spreadsheet alone saved us thousands of dollars and raised, like I said, our cost of goods sold, our gross profit, and our bottom line so much. Not to mention knowing, hey, when can we scale? When are we going to hire someone? Where's the bank account going to be at in 12 months, 18 months? Am I going to be okay? Can I make this purchase? A lot of business owners just make decisions based on what's in the bank account right now and not knowing what's in the future. So knowing your finances, how much does it cost to do the service? How much does it cost to pay my guy to go out to the service? The fuel cost, everything's included here. And just by looking at this for 2 to 3 minutes a day, you're going to save yourself thousands of dollars.
Once we had those finances dialed in, we knew everything about the company. We knew how much each job cost. We knew how much to pay each employee for each job. We knew how much it cost to get to each job. Everything was super clear. And so we were able to scale at a super fast rate after that because there was no longer a bottleneck of finances within the company. Nothing was stopping us. The next thing is the service. Not only creating a service that's very, very high quality, but also one that's super consistent. I wanted my customers to know every time that they could expect the same service. But early on, it was a nightmare. I had never done the pest control spraying before, so my very first hire was a technician. I wanted him to do the spraying, I'll do all the selling, and we'll be a dynamic duo. But he was relying on me to train him. And so I'll just tell you, at our very first house we pull up to the house, get off the truck, reel off the hose and the gun, and when we start the rig to spray the house, the gun wasn't properly attached and it pops off and chemicals start spraying everywhere. And meanwhile, the customer is outside watching us do the service and she's so confused what's going on. My employee is super confused too. He's looking at me, she's looking at me. They're both wondering what's going on. Why is this happening? It was crazy. But thankfully, I was able to learn very quickly and turn things around. So fast forward a few months and our team had done hundreds and hundreds of services at different homes. And so I had a ton of data points to look at and see what things led to the best results. And with all that data, I was able to narrow everything down into a simple scorecard that we used for our technicians whenever they went to service a house. Every time they went, they were scored on the same 5 or 6 things, and it led to incredible results. We had almost 400 5-star reviews on Google and tons of word of mouth referrals because people were super happy with the service. And as an owner, I knew that anytime I sent an employee out, our customers were going to get the same exact service.
Here's an inside look on our scorecard and what we scored our guys on every single week. So there's a few different categories, and on the left you see there's points assigned to every single one. And at the end of every week, we had a total score, and our technicians were required to be within 90 to 100% score every week, or else there was discipline involved. And so the first category was on time. We quickly learned that if you're on time for your service appointment, the customer is always happier. And so that was the very first thing we implemented, is the technician needed to be on time every time. And so if they were the entire week, they got 20 points in that category. Anytime they were late, over 5 minutes past the appointment time, they got docked points in that category. Number 2 was how long the technician spent at the house. Another thing we quickly learned was the longer a technician stays at the house doing the job, the better the customer thinks they did. On top of that, the longer a technician stays, the better they usually do. And so we required them to stay a certain duration depending on what type of service it was. The left column is if it's a recurring service, meaning we've already done that same service 2, 3, 4, however many times, and so it's just a maintenance service. So that's why those numbers are a little bit lower. And then on the right, these are initial services, or the very first time we've gone to this customer's house. And so we expected the technician to be there longer to do a more thorough job and leave the customer happier. And so if they were in these ranges that week, they again got 20 points. One thing we learned too was that if customers saw the job done, they were happy. But a lot of times customers are gone while you go to do the service, and so it's hard to ensure that they're happy. What we did on our end is we required our technicians to take 2 pictures at every single service they did and send it directly to the customer. That way the customer not only knows that the job was done, but they can see a before and after and know how well the job was done. And on top of that, as a business owner, this helps me know how well the job is being done, and I can know that every job is getting done right because pictures are coming in all day. So as long as the technicians took at least 2 pictures at every house, they got 100% that week. Then there was the truck check. So every Monday morning at 6 a.m. they brought their trucks in, and there was a full checklist of what needed to be on the truck, cleanliness requirements, and so on. And if they passed that truck check 100%, they got 20 points. We needed our trucks to look good, and also our technicians were invested in maintaining the property and equipment of the company. One of the last ones was leaving notes. One thing we ran into early on is a technician would go and do a job, say in May, and then we'd go back to that house a few months later, and we'd almost be starting from scratch again with the next person going to do the job. So we required our technicians to leave a note after every single service so that the next guy that goes can pick up right where we left off. Last one was the driving score. We had monitors inside the truck that monitored their driving, and we needed to make sure that they're following the law and driving okay on the roads. So implementing this took any guesswork out of my job of, is the job getting done? Do I need to worry about this? Do I need to micromanage this? Everything was done correctly, and if it wasn't, they knew they were going to get docked and be disciplined for it.
Once that scorecard was in place, everything was running super smooth. We were doing 20, 30, 40 services each day, and every single service was elite. So customers were super happy, and we were getting 5-star reviews flooding in on Google every day. That naturally boosted our rating on Google, and so we were getting free organic calls from people looking up our service. More importantly, I was able to step away from the service side of things and focus all my energy on sales and marketing because now we had our finances and our service dialed in. I mentioned at the beginning how starting a business was super tough. For the first 3 weeks of my business, I knocked doors every single day and got 0 customers. But over that time and all the time after that, I was able to dial in a super effective sales process to where we got over 1,000 recurring customers in our first 12 months and many more after that. Here's how to do it. Door-to-door sales. Most companies get 1, 2, maybe 3 inbound calls a day of customers looking for service. But the amazing thing with door-to-door sales is you can get 10, 20, 30 plus new customers every day that are high quality, high paying customers. And the best part, all those customers are in a tight geographical area, so your service technician has virtually 0 drive time to do all those houses, making your service and your company extremely efficient. I use the same exact sales process from day 1 to the very last day of my company because it worked so well. Here's how to do it. Look at your schedule and look 2 or 3 days in advance of a house you're going to go service. Get that address and go to that neighborhood. When you go to the neighborhood, you're going to knock on neighbors' doors and let them know that you are providing a service for Mr. Johnson, let's say. Because you're coming for Mr. Johnson on Thursday, your truck is already going to be in the area, so you can do that same service for them at a super cheap price. If you do that from door to door to door for several hours in a single neighborhood, you can get 10, 15, 20 new customers in the same exact neighborhood in less than a week. I would use this same sales process on repeat. I would always use it the few days leading up to a service, but then I would also always use it the few days after the service too. So let's say we did Mr. Johnson's house on Thursday. The rest of Thursday, all of Friday, and all of Saturday, I would stay in that neighborhood knocking on neighbors' doors. I would let them know, hey, we just serviced Mr. Johnson's house on Thursday. While we're here in the area wrapping up our customers, we're doing anyone new for half price. And I would get another 5, 10, 15 customers from that. By doing it this way, you get customers at a cheap price and you retain them for a long time while having zero drive time. Let me take this one step further for you. So most home service businesses are seasonal. You think Christmas lights, snow removal, pest control. For us, it was always during the summertime. That's when it's hottest and the bugs were out. And so all the time during the summer, we spent our time knocking on doors, getting new customers that way. But when the colder season rolled around, I would step back and leverage my time in a more efficient way, getting new customers. While my guys were still servicing all those customers that we got during the summertime, I would step back and do Instagram influencer marketing. There's people out there who already have hundreds of thousands of followers and eyeballs on anything they post. So we would directly partner with them and say, hey, if we do your service for free, all we ask is that you post about us. And so very quickly, we'd have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of eyeballs seeing our service done, and it cost us almost nothing. And so it's very simply find an influencer, send them a message, partner with them, do the service, and then you have referrals coming in like crazy. And the best part about both of these marketing strategies is how little it costs to get those customers. It costs almost nothing. And so once we got door-to-door sales rolling and customers coming from Instagram influencers, we had super high margins on each of those services we provided. So we had a lot of money to go spend on other things. At that time, I was able to go hire more people to take more off my plate because our margins were so high, because we had dialed in our finances earlier and our service was great. And so we were retaining customers for a long time and not having any drop off of revenue. Early on, that was one of the hardest things about running the business. So much of my time was consumed with text, emails, calls, placing orders, invoices, all those things, because I was wearing all the hats in the company. So I had very little time to actually go out and get new customers because I was so busy with everything coming in. But I was able to scale our operations to where in the last 4 or 5 months of the company, I was spending maybe an hour or two each week working on the company. Everything had a system and a process attached to it, and everything was handled super smoothly to where there was very, very little that I had to do. I was able to create a super well-oiled machine that essentially ran on its own. Of course, with amazing employees running each aspect of the business, but on my side, it took very little time and energy. Everything was streamlined and was very smooth. So when an employee got hired and onboarded, there was a super smooth process to get them up and running on their own in just a couple weeks. All customer communication was automated. So all the reminders before the service, the reminders after the service, surveys after the service to get us reviews coming in on Google, that was all automated. And then every Monday, there was a company meeting being held that I didn't need to be in person at, but I could check in after to make sure everything's running smoothly and that I was up to speed with everything going on. The key to all of this is having SOPs, automated customer communication, a great CRM, hiring and onboarding processes, and amazing employees to carry out and execute all of those things. When I first started my company, I had no idea how to hire someone, when to hire someone, how to pay someone, any of those things. I'd never done it before. But over the last several years, I've been able to automate and perfect a system to where the last couple employees I hired, I actually did it all over the phone and never met them in person, which I don't recommend, but our system had become so automated and streamlined to where I didn't need to be there in person, and everything happened so smoothly and my team took over everything. So it's all about creating and developing an all-star team. And I break this down into a 3-step process. Number 1, recruiting. Number 2, hiring. And then 3, onboarding. Recruiting is all about getting the right people in the door and interested in working for you. Whether that's the actual door or online applications, it's all about crafting the perfect job description so you get the ideal candidates interested in working for you. There are so many jobs out there and places that people can apply for. So it's super important that you make yours stand out and make it attractive so people want to apply for your job. Once I got people in the door or on the phone after I recruited them, I knew I needed to continue the process of making this different than the rest. I knew these people were applying for 10, 20, 30 jobs at a time and having tons of interviews, and so mine needed to stand out. And one thing that I heard all the time from people I hired or just interviewed is they told me that one, they wanted the job really bad, and two, that this hiring process was different than all the rest. I did this by having my interview process be based around values rather than skills. I didn't really care what someone did or what was on their resume. I cared who they were as a person, what their goals were, what their values were, who they were on the inside. Because when two things are aligned, that goes way quicker and way farther than when they're working against each other. So I knew that if we got the right people on board with the same vision and the same values as us, we'd go a lot faster and a lot farther. So all of the questions I asked was all about who they were as a person, not about what they've done. And because I was able to find people aligned with the same visions, goals, and values as our company, we went so much faster and so much farther. They were aligned, so they were happy and they stayed longer as an employee. And so that also made customers happier and everything went faster and farther. So once we found that perfect fit for our company, it was super important to me that we got them up and running and contributing to the growth of the company as quickly as possible. I didn't want just another employee that comes in and sits around and doesn't feel like they're part of something big. And so our onboarding process was all about getting them integrated with the company as quickly as possible. So within the first week, day one was all about reading through the company SOP, their role, the vision, the values, everything inside out, so they knew what to expect. Then day two, they would shadow the lead employee. And so they'd see exactly how the job should be done at a high level. They could ask any questions and they got to see it happen. Days 3 through 5, they would slowly take on more roles and actively do the job. I didn't want them sitting around for a week and not doing anything. So their training was very hands-on and getting feedback from the top employees, so they felt good, valued, and contributing to the team. And then week 2, they were fully up and running on their own. They would be shadowed from time to time from the top employee, but they were doing the job and getting feedback from customers, getting wins from them. And so very quickly, our employees were onboarded, contributing, and feeling great about being a part of the company. By following this process of recruiting, hiring, and onboarding my people, I was able to build and create an amazing team and work environment. All of my employees were amazing. They did great work and they loved being at work, which created positive energy that flew throughout the whole work environment. So many times I got asked questions from people about how did I find the best people? How did I get them to stay for so long? And it always starts at the very beginning of the process: recruiting, hiring, and onboarding. After all that, it all comes down to your mindset as an owner. Mindset can be super tough, and as an owner, there's stresses and deadlines and a lot of things that can weigh you down. And believe me, I dealt with all those things. There were so many times that I had negative thoughts when I was battling different things, but it all comes down to developing the right mindset and the right habits, because the speed of the leader is the speed of the team. And the best part about all this, I'm really excited to let you know that I've been working on something for a while now. I work one-on-one with home service business owners who want to scale their business. Owning and scaling a business is super, super hard. It's confusing, it's stressful. A lot of times you feel in the dark, you don't know what to do next, and it can be really hard to grow on your own. I work with business owners who are super passionate and driven and want to get to the next level. They're tired of spinning their wheels, they're willing to try new things, and they're willing to go all in to make a huge difference in the world and in their community, and more importantly, for their family and for themselves. Here's how it works. You get a one-on-one hour-long onboarding call with me where we analyze everything about your current company and current situation and figure out exactly what you need to do to go from where you're at to what your goals are for your business. You'll also get instant access to our course that's fully built out with everything you need to know and do to grow in those areas we talk about. So whether it's your team, your mindset, your operations, your service, your sales, whatever you need, it's there. You don't need to guess anymore. You'll get the SOPs, the scripts, the strategies. It's all done for you. On top of that, you're going to be in a community of people just like you who are trying to grow their home service business. So you can ask questions, learn from them, get feedback, so you don't need to do this on your own anymore. You'll also get access to live weekly group calls where we dive even deeper into each of those topics, and you can ask questions about real-time scenarios that are happening for you and get feedback immediately. So again, you won't be doing anything on your own anymore. And you'll have one-on-one coaching and support from me, where we essentially meet every week one-on-one, and I give you everything you need to go from A to Z throughout this entire process. So if you're interested in learning more and seeing if you'd be a good fit to work with me, click the link below to schedule a call with me.